Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Brian Hoops from Midwest Market Solutions. This is our Market Insider TV quarterly stocks and acreage report webinar. Thanks for joining us. It's June the 30th, Tuesday night, and the report has come out and saw a big rally in the corn, soybeans to a lesser extent. These markets here got some positive information, some bearish information as well that was largely ignored and focused on the positives. If you remember a year ago during this report, we were limit down during the trading session in corn, and certainly a reverse of that today as a market was caught off guard with the acreage numbers and gave us a big rally in corn. So we're going to talk about that and explore it in a little more detail, give you some strategies you can use on your marketing and hedging program. As always, give us a call if you have questions. You can find a list of all of our offices at our website, MidwestMarketSolutions.com. We have 11 licensed brokers that I know would be able to help you out. Some more experienced than me. I've been around in the business since the 90s. We've had some employees been there since the 70s and 80s. So a lot of wealth of information we'd love to share with you, talking some marketing and hedging strategies. If you're unfamiliar with our company, while you're at our website, make sure you sign up for our Twitter feed, our text messaging service. Both those are free services. We offer full and discount brokerage services. And if you are interested in trading or hedging through us, you can do that on your own. We have trading platforms that are available to you. But make sure you sign up for our spec newsletters, our daily newsletter, weekly newsletters, as well as our insider audio and video commentaries. So all kinds of information available for our clients. Big news was the acreage numbers. Grain stocks were largely ignored, and we can't ignore them forever, especially this corn number. It's a really bearish corn number, well above trade guesses here, above last year. And the soybean number pretty neutral, still about the second largest in history. Wheat number also a little bearish, and that tempered the rally in the wheat market today. But overall, this report largely ignored by the trade as it focused on the acres. And let's take a look at the acres here. Corn number is the one that stands out. That's what the trade focused on. 92 million acres, down 3.2 from the trade guess, and almost 5 million from March. So a pretty friendly number. A lot of people asking where do these acres come from, and we'll go through that here in a second. But a lot of questions. It's only 2.3 million more acres than we planned last year, despite all the prevent plant that we saw last year and all the flooding that was done. It's certainly possible that producers this year saw maybe some wet fields or conditions where they could not get in the fields and decided, hey, the prices are not there. I'm not going to mud this crop in, and I'm just going to take prevent plant. And that certainly appears to be the case for corn. For soybeans, a little bit larger number than last month, almost 300,000 acres more. It is below the trade guess by 900,000 acres, and that gave us a rally in new crop soybean values today. So overall, friendly report because of these two numbers for corn and soybeans. All wheat acres around expectations, down a little bit from March. Spring wheat acres down a little bit from March, and the winter wheat down a little bit from March. All these below trade expectations, and gave us a little pop in the market, but those stocks numbers limited the advance for wheat. Cotton futures had a pretty solid move today as well. December cotton over 61 cents. That's due to acreage numbers coming in below the trade guess. Total acres 246 million. A little bit more than we saw last year, but certainly a big drop from the average trade guess and what we saw from the month of March as prevent plant was certainly taken advantage of this year. If we expected to see some prevent plant, especially in North Dakota. We thought maybe we'd even see 2 million acres of land in North Dakota, but that wasn't the case. If we look at state by state, North Dakota here, 800,000. That's the largest drop, but South Dakota 600,000, 700,000 in Nebraska, and even Illinois and Indiana. About 400,000 acres less than the month of March, and even Iowa 100,000. So a little surprising that all these states would see some prevent plant, but it did add up, and that's what the USDA gave us. As far as surprises, compares our June acreage numbers versus March and April. Biggest drop in history by far and away. Biggest surprise. 95, we saw a big drop. That was a year I think we had set aside acres, so big drop, but this is by far and away the largest in history. Now, our corn stocks, compared to our average trade guess, this would be the second largest bearish surprise, or the largest increase compared to guesses in history, trailing only 2011. So this number here, not quite as bearish, but one of the most bearish in history. We had a big drop here in 2010. That would be the largest drop compared to our trade guesses. So while the acreage number was bullish, stocks number was not. I bring this up here because you can look at this graph and it tells you 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. All these years, 7 years in a row, the USDA has come in at its final number in January above the July estimates. So next month's report, I think it's July 11th, that's going to be a key for the market. This number here, this number in July, trade is going to expect, if we have decent growing conditions, that big crop is going to get bigger, and we'll have bigger yield numbers compared to what we see next month. So if you look at our balance sheets, we obviously have to change these numbers because the acreage number has to change, and we have to our carryout number for the old crop is going to change because of this bearish quarterly stocks number. So I made the adjustments on my balance sheets. USDA will make theirs in July. I moved to about 2.35 billion bushel carryout for the old crop, certainly a big number and one of the largest we've seen in recent years. So you carry that into this new crop marketing year, and I think our harvested acres are very close. Our yields are similar. I'm bumping yields up just a little bit based off of conditions so far. Always can change those if we have a hot July and a dry July and August. But that puts our carryover number and our total supply over 17.5 billion bushels, and there's no way we're using all that. We're using 14.6. So I think the USDA on exports for next year is very optimistic. They're looking at almost a 400 million bushel increase to one of the largest exports we've ever had in history. I think that's very optimistic and probably too optimistic. So I don't have as much usage as they have, and I have carryover at 2.857. At the very least, if you add the 250 million to this, you're looking at 2.56, almost 2.6 billion bushel carryout that the USDA is going to say. I'm right now at 2.8. Could be 2.6 to 3, but bottom line, it's going to be a big number. This is going to be one of the largest stocks to usage ratios that we have seen in our recent memory. As far as soybeans go, July versus March planting intentions. Last year, I mentioned the corn was limit down, but the soybeans had a bullish number. Big drop in acres and soybeans rallied like crazy. Today, very minimal change. In fact, compared to history, we've had, as far as increases go, this is one of the smaller increases we've ever seen in history. So pretty benign report there. Just not that much to get excited about. Now, I showed you this graph on corn. And soybeans, you can count back 5 years, and then last year was 5 out of 6. Our yields have come in above the July number. So watch the July supply and demand report closely, and know that the USDA, if we have good growing conditions, is very likely to increase yields compared to that July number. They're going to be very conservative, I think, in July. But 2 years ago, we saw a 3 bushel increase by the final. In 2016, we saw yields over 5 bushel per acre increase. If we look at our balance sheets, we changed these ever so slightly. USDA is at 585 on carryout. I dropped it by 50 million bushels due to the quarterly stocks numbers today. So that gives us a little tighter carry in. I jumped our yields to 51. That's a little bit above what the USDA currently is at. They may stay right at this 50 bushel in July. Exports, again, with similar to corn, they're just way optimistic. They're expecting export profile to jump 400 million bushels and be one of the best we've ever had in history due to the China phase 1 agreement. I think it's optimistic. 300 million bushels is my number, and you can see that bottom line, that 100 million bushels really makes a big difference. I'm looking at total usage 100 million less than what the USDA has, so they're at 405. I'm closer to 560. We could meet in the middle and be at 500 million and still know that that is one of the larger carryouts we've ever had in history. It would trail last year's which is about 535, or be almost identical, and that would be the second largest in history comparing to 18 and 19 marketing years. So bottom line here, corn and soybeans, the balance sheet numbers changed today based off these acreage numbers, but the quarterly stocks for corn muted some of that bullishness. And we're going to have a lot of corn, a lot of soybeans, maybe not as burdensome as previous numbers, but still going to be very big come this fall if we grow a big crop. Now, wheat stocks, we didn't talk about this much, but this was bearish. Compared to trade guesses, this is one of the second, third largest surprises in history. A huge number here, real bearish number. Last year we saw a reduction in stocks. This year jumped up the stocks, and we have to put that into our balance sheets. So we had looked like we were going to go 3 years of over 1 billion bushel carryout, and then a reduction under 1 billion. It doesn't look to be the case anymore. This old crop marketing year is going to end at 1 billion bushels, making it the fourth consecutive year of a carryout above 1 billion bushels. The new crop, I think you have to jump the carryout numbers here to almost 990 million. Our carry-in number, if we increase that by the 60 million bushels today, certainly project this into the bottom line. I think your exports are pretty much right in line at 950, and that increased carry-in number jumps you up to almost 1 billion bushel carryout for the new crop marketing year. And this comes despite acres being one of the lowest in history. So strategies here going forward, it's a weather market from here on out. We know the planted acres for corn, soybeans, and for wheat. So while we have rallies, you want to make sales on these rallies. You want to manage your risk by buying puts. You can also make sales by calls to manage your risk, but you got to manage your risk. You can't just let this rally come to you and then let it be taken away by weather if we get some good rains. So you can also sell call options here to offset your put buying. That limits the upside, and there's potential margin calls. The advantage is it makes your initial cost that much cheaper. Historically speaking, and I've been around since the 90s, historically speaking, you don't want to be long or unprotected after the 4th of July. Our hedging program moved to 100% cash sales and hedge protection today on the rally, and we have strategies to manage that risk going forward. So we're not going to be unprotected after the 4th. That was our goal going forward, and we'll continue to have that mentality as we go into the rest of this summer. There is no carry in the new crop soybeans, so you want to sell for fall delivery and then look to reown. You don't want to store soybeans without a carry. The corn market's not at full carry, but if we have a big crop, no doubt we'll move to that position. The soybean market is telling you to sell at fall delivery and then look to reown. Wheat exports, I think, will be weak in the second half of 2020 due to increased competition. Hedge or protect yourself on supply rallies. Didn't have much of a rally today. Hopefully we will have additional rallies coming in the future. Thanks a lot for your attention and participation in today's meeting. Let us know if we can help you out in the future. This has been Brian Hoops from Midwest Market Solutions. Make sure you check out our website, midwestmarketsolutions.com, for future webinars and YouTube videos. Have a good night and be safe, good luck, and good trading.